A very good morning to you. Welcome to Smart Means Business today, the 28th of August. The month is ending, the month is running. It's also on a high note to take a reflective moment and find out how this month has been, because guess what? 2024 is almost coming to an end. Welcome. We are live on Smart 24 TV. I'm Doreen Kemcha. I will be taking you right through. Now remember a couple of things that we have been talking about, just like we always start here. We have been looking at really the situation, more or less carrying out a situational analysis of disabled persons with disabilities. Actually, I was corrected to say it that way, persons with disabilities. Now when it comes to the terminologies that we use, when it comes to the attitudes, when it comes to the different settings, the environment, how enabling is the employment, how enabling is accessibility to persons with disabilities. These are some of the undertones that we will be holding within this discussion, this conversation today. Please join us between 9 to 10 today as we have the architectural side of persons with disabilities. What should they have in place? What should you be mindful about, especially when it comes to the different international standards? We will get a very able gentleman coming in to join us between 9 to 10 as we get some insight into the architectural detailing for persons with disabilities. But just now, we do have as well Karibu East Africa, where we will give you the latest regional news when it comes to different places, what is happening. We have been talking about, of course, in the last couple of days, talking about things such as the levies, such as the different sort of like pooling, all the different poolings that are happening within the East African community. Of course, different countries where they get to look at how do they revamp their own domestic market. How do they get to, we saw a little bit of Tanzania looking at boosting the internal, the domestic farmers and getting to see that at least when it comes to sugarcane and when it comes to grain, a little bit of protectionism going on there. When it comes to Kenya, of course, we have had as well some restructuring there. And right now, it was on and off, more or less a ping pong when it came to Ugandan milk going there, with Brookside coming in and saying, there is a problem here, you are limiting, you are shutting us down. What is the essence of the East African community? And of course, Uganda, we have had this conversation here whereby we say, are we protected? Are we protected as Ugandans? What is it? We are more or less the ethos here, the conversation here when it comes to our leaders is throw yourself right into export, because there's sort of, there's quite a lot of untapped potential. So it seems more or less not inclined towards protectionism when it comes to Uganda, but more or less as in seize the opportunity, get out there, look further actually than just regional markets. That much more coming in. We have seen, of course, as well, some value addition. Still, the subject matter really is still on value addition, industrialization. Coffee is doing quite well. We did see quite a boost coming in, year out. And within the last couple of weeks, we've obviously made reports here at Smart 24 TV about Uganda's coffee. And then, of course, there are a couple of other things. Cocoa as well is on the increase, and Ugandans are being urged to tap into that. Much more regional news will be coming to you. When it comes to international news, of course, we do have quite a lot of stone casting when it comes to China, China's investment into Africa. We've seen a couple of not only just infrastructural development in regards with partnerships with between different African countries and China, but we've also seen, and we've had reports here about a slug, a little bit of a lag, and more or less a slowing down when it comes to Chinese investment. And of course, we've looked at as well an increasing debt of many African countries in regards to China. And much more will be as well coming in. Now, when it comes to today's particular, when it comes to particular discussions today, what is the topical issue, the undertone of this conversation? Just like I mentioned, that person that you get to pass by, that person that maybe has mobility challenges, that person that cannot see, has sight challenges, that person that has the hearing challenges as well. What is your take? What do you do? Do you find yourself in that uncomfortable position where you don't know how to help them? That has been cited by a couple of others within their comments as they send their different opinions and comments to us. Please get onto our different social media pages. You can find us on X, YouTube, as well as Facebook. Please get in and drop us a comment. Find out, let us know what your opinion is towards some of these topical issues. Smart24 TV official, Smart24 TV as one word. You can find us on the different social media platforms. Let's get back to what we were talking about. When it comes to that particular person that you get, the person with disabilities, we did host a mother to one of the children who got a bout of cerebral, I believe it was maybe meningitis, but he ended up with cerebral palsy. Now, this happened at 1 year and a couple of months, 1 year, 7 months. The boy is now 22 years. Now, when she was getting in and out, taking the child to physiotherapy, the thing that most bothered her, and is still apparent even today, is the lack of transportation facilities, is the different attitudes in the communities towards persons with disabilities. She actually mentioned here, you can get onto YouTube and recap and find out, and look rather and listen to that story. It will give you just a hint into some of the impediments, of the challenges that the support structures around persons with disabilities go through. So when she was talking to us, she mentioned that whenever she was taking the child to Mulago for physiotherapy, she had to wait with her boy, and by the stage, wait with her boy, because a couple of taxis that would pass by were not really positive towards her. He was drooling most of the times, drooling with saliva. And of course she tried to be clean, to clean up this child. But then you find in most cases the inconvenience that comes with having to have this child that you're carrying, or having to step up, having to be quite slower than the other average passenger, sometimes is not looked at positively. So in most cases, she had to wait for the different taxis, and they would pass by her. She stood by the stage with her son until one who had a better heart, a kinder heart, would stop by and then take her. Now, when it also comes, not even just that attitude and the impatience that comes with that, when we also look at the different ways, there's a different gentleman that gets onto the taxi sometimes on the route that I do take in the morning, and sometimes you get to see him really struggle. He's quite, I believe he has a hip problem and he uses crutches, quite slow. But sometimes you get to see the impatience, and it is something that we have to, I think, be a little bit introspective about this particular person who has the mobility disability. When they get onto the different vehicle that you are using, are you impatient? Are you a little bit rude? Are you keen to help them come on to step up? Are you able to help them? But what else can be? It just does not end with help. You cannot keep helping. There has to be facilities that enable them to live lives of dignity. When we take a look at our cars, at our public transport system, is it conducive for persons with disabilities, for those with mobility challenges who maybe have a wheelchair and want to get onto a public van? Is it conducive? Is it possible that they can do that? Is it possible that they can get onto maybe the ferry? The ferry, yes, they can't get onto that. But when it comes to just within Kampala here, and within maybe even as you travel up country, can a wheelchair get that? Can a wheelchair get into the spaces? Now, we will be talking about the architectural details. I have been talking about just the transport facilities because it has just become more apparent to me, especially now that we are talking about this subject. And this is why we come to you here at Smart24 TV. Some of these topics that we do bring to you to usher in a little bit of self-introspection and a little bit of what am I doing on my part. Whether it is something to do with waste management. You remember we mentioned yesterday that this particular waste management should start with us, the sorting. Now, even as we are talking about the plight, the situation of persons with disabilities, how do you begin to look at them? What is your attitude within the community? How do you help them? How do you support them? How do you advocate for them? Just because it hasn't happened to you, because it hasn't happened to someone in proximity to you, sometimes it may be a little bit strange. And even the terminologies, you will notice when I came out, I said, I did mention about disabled persons, and I was corrected by someone who said it is, can we please change it to persons with disabilities, because a disabled person is still very capable, is not an unable person. So it's PWDs from now henceforth. But it is a delightful moment because we do get to find out what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong. This is a moment whereby we just have to keep learning and we have to keep finding out what we can do to make the situation better. Now, please be reminded, between 9 to 10 today, we do have a gentleman who will be joining us from the architectural fraternity, from the profession, coming in to let us know those particular details within the buildings. What is it all about? What should the building engineers be looking at, and the different architects as they design some of these buildings? What should they be looking at? And even when it comes to the persons with disabilities, do they know that it is their right, that they can complain about particular buildings to which they cannot access? Do they know that it is their right to maybe advocate for more accessible facilities when it comes to washrooms, when it comes to parking lots, when it comes to the different rooms within some of these places that they would want to access? Do they know that it is their right to be able to have better access? We will be having this conversation from 9 to 10. Please join us and let us know. And as well, you can get onto our social media pages. We are starting this off starting this week. Please get onto our social media pages. You will notice that we do put out flyers of the different guests that we will be hosting. We do have as well a segment where we do encourage you, and we are starting it off. Please get into there and post your question. The question that you would want to ask the different guests that we host here at Smart 24 TV. You do have a little bit of a segment that we are adding onto this, starting with Smart Means Business, where we start off at 7 a.m. round all through. Please let your questions be heard. Do not be silent wherever you are. You can write your question and package it well, and within that particular show, and we will get to ask the guest on your behalf. It is quite a moment. For now, even as I go through the different topics as we are talking about the undertone of this conversation, let's get into the press review next. Press review coming up next. And within your Daily Monitor, please get your copy of the Daily Monitor as well as your New Vision. Find out what is in. There's quite a lot that is happening within the country and elsewhere. Jobless youth, that's within the Daily Monitor start-off cover page. Jobless youth and vacant government jobs. Different scenarios of comparison, whereby you have the public universities having staffing gaps around 16,744 vacant. Of the approved 24,000 vacancies across all the public universities, only 7,000 positions have been filled. Why? Is it because of a lack of skills? Is it a lack of the experience or qualifications? What is missing? Or it is the money. Unfulfilled positions in public service, whereas it's needed public service entities, excluding UPDF, ISO, and parastatals, have close to 300,000 vacant positions. And of course, employees in health service, you've got 103,700 174 vacant slots within the health service. This is quite a lot. So is it some money? Is it lack of government money in enabling the filling of this vacant posts? What is the problem? Where is it coming from? Because clearly the vacant posts are so many. When it comes to more news, over 295,000 different persons. Some Ugandans wait to be cleared at Entebbe International Airport before they take a flight to the UAE for work in 2021. It gives you just a sneak peek into the rush for jobs elsewhere, and yet we do have vacant positions coming in. Of course, there is also a little bit of a hint here. The large number of unfilled positions raise questions about the government's planning and allocation of resources, given the number of unemployed and underemployed persons, because you have a total of around 361 government jobs which are unfilled despite the high unemployment in the country, according to the State of Human Resource 2023 report published by the Ministry of Public Service yesterday. And then, of course, when it comes to a couple of other things, Dr. Besigye faction picks new name as FDC cements divorce. Some happening inside there, but a list of political parties in the pipeline: National Foundation Party, National Revival Coalition, People Power Front, Shine Uganda, National Agrarian Party, National Economic and Redemption Party, Uganda Prosperity Party, and People's Front for Freedom Party. This race is going to be an interesting one. The spokesperson of the EC should be counting those chairs. Discovery of skulls shines light on shrine dark secrets. Unfortunately, this is as well on the increase. It seems to have an up and down sort of thing, whereby it comes out. There was last couple of years back, whereby, of course, you did have some spotlight into the traditional healers. You did have quite a number of claims of sacrifice going on during that time. Child sacrifice was on the increase. Abduction was on the increase as well. And now it seems to be coming up again. Then it did suddenly nosedive a little bit. You did have quite a number of crackdown during those years, quite a number of years back. But now it seems to be raising its head up again with the last couple of skulls being got recently. Please be very mindful. This is the holiday season for children, and there's still a couple of kidnappings going on out there. And call them to book those shady fake healers that are within your community. Call them to book. Do not be afraid that they will send the spirits down on you. You can do your part as well and protect yourself, but do not. People are deceived by fake traditional healers that when you sacrifice a person, you can use their organs, bones, and skulls to cleanse them or solve their problems. That is not true. This was said by Mr. John Walyabira, a member of the Traditional Healers and Herbalists Association. Very gruesome situation there. Some good news coming out as well, an opportunity for women entrepreneurs. It happens today. The monies, the funds that we have been talking about all through last week, all through last month, coming out right now, being launched, the Grow Loan launch being out there. Now remember, the GROW project is a 5-year Government of Uganda project financed by IDA World Bank grant of $217 million. This includes 36 million from IDA for refugees and host communities. The project is being implemented by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development and the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. So it has been talked about quite a number of times. You remember, you can as well access the different videos that we did have. We hosted the two specialists, the public relations as well as the gender specialist here, right at Smart 24 TV, and they gave us quite a lot of insight. It is not as only women as you think. Yes, it is looking at women-owned businesses, but remember, if you have a partnership with a woman for business partnership. Let me be clear about that. And you have this business, and she has 51%, and you do have 49%. You do qualify as well, because it is the business that they are looking at. Of course, as well, if they're male employees and you have these different workshops, they also get to benefit, because it is skilling all who are within that particular one. But just getting a little bit on the bracket of the enterprise and the financing levels. Enterprises but have outgrown most microcredit and livelihood programs. The financing levels is between 4 million to 20 million. Micro enterprises with the potential, that's level 1 is enterprises that have outgrown most microcredit and livelihood programs. Those ones at financing level 1 get 4 million to 20 million. And then level 2 for micro enterprises with the potential to transition from micro to small, those access 20 million to 40 million. And enterprises level 3, enterprises with the potential to transition from small to medium, those can access financing levels of 40 million to 200 million. Please get out as well a couple of banks. Some good news for going out for those who have been asking about when is the money coming. It is right there. You can get into the partner financial institutions or the different banks and see how to get some money coming in. Understanding your prefab homes piece by piece. Now, when it comes to the new vision, still really the same thing coming off today, talking about government short of 295,000 workers. Tight race for AU top job as ESC unveils Odinga. You had quite a number as well supporting him there. And of course, something being highlighted here, Sorority SS, Mengo SS to face off in Green Schools debate finals today. The young are being encouraged, are being called in, come in and do your part when it comes to climate change. It was actually said that the young are being called in to come in and try and overturn what the older generation has done. And of course, you do still have insight. It's quite a lot still going on with the Katanga case hearing. Prosecution re-examines pathologist on exhibits. FOCAC to elevate Uganda-China ties, says envoy. The Chinese ambassador to Uganda has said the upcoming forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit will elevate the Uganda-China relations. Over 50 teachers summoned for disciplinary action. Unfortunately, Dr. Asuman Lukwago, the secretary, explained that they have registered a rising number of forgeries, which is causing the government to lose a lot of money to ghosts. Lukwago explained that many times forgeries are not detected and the government goes ahead to pay money to those who forge documents. You've got that happening here. Ugandan emerges second best expert in international taxation. We've got quite some wonderful stories happening in that department. All set for Parliament sitting in Gulu. You did have quite some contention there. You had some that said, why Gulu? And then you have others, of course, that just went onto the bus and said, Gulu is just any other, it's any other place, just like any other region. But of course, all set for the first ever regional sittings of Parliament that will take place in Gulu City starting today until Friday at Kaunda grounds in Laibi Division. At least 500 VIP rooms have been booked ahead of the sittings. And of course, the place should be really quite vibrant and a very good business opportunity. Get your latest Modeli Monitor as well as your new vision and find out what is happening within the country. Let's take a short break and we will be right back after this message.
Smart 24, driving business.
MTN ekutusako papa patetuwa musonga katino kulo mukaganga satubulu mwezi guno gwa munana jangu kudams water kuragime browns tunyumirwe ngokuyingira jinja kuba emitwalo ebiri naye ticket wogigulira ku MTN momo ogifuna ku mutwalo gumu ye ya VIP ya mitwalo 3 katino nyiga *165*2 noti hash oba kozesa momo app wegulire tiketi yo ku MTN momo ku bei rahisi tosubwa abayimbi bonna ab'e Kampala n'ab'e Busoga papa tenetegekeddwa Douglas Lwanga ne kutuusibwako MTN.
Together we're unstoppable.
I know that your baby daddy abandoned you. Pissed off.
Kampala Cream is back and it's about to go down.
For me to talk about you, I'm giving you relevance. All about the money.
Owning the gram and still serving glam.
I'm trying to stay humble. Getting married.
Kampala Cream Season 2, Sundays at 8 p.m. Pearl Magic Prime, DSTV Channel 148, GoTV Channel 303.
Amabara nibanyetaye baziwe Rusiya Nyenduga Kyegegwa district Kabanda sambaire ninkoro mulimo gwa saluni mazire mu mwaka gumu Kabando wa saluni narora agent owaito omkyegegwa yeja yampikaho yagamba aliyo project ebakweta grow gundi World Bank bagambire kasero y'abakazi abali mu byara bena ama business gebye mikono babaleta kunu Kampala amalaika kusoma then babahereza certificate babongera habukugo bayene nayo naikiriza yampandika era nkasemerwa muno nizire hano mazire ho kwezi kumu nyegere kukora za dreads zimbaire ntamanyire abantu babani bazinsaba muno ntakuzimanya nayiga kukora makeup era n'abandi begere bankoraho ka makeup hati ninjagarukayo ngende musaluni yange nkore byembaire ntamanyire binyegire kunuka dreads eze cyangu weave ezo kukora n'engaro then nja kubundafuna chance nja kutunga n'abantu abali mu cyaro abatakumanya skills ezitwegere kuno nabo mbarabiremu kugamba nko kubayikirize bakatusera bakatuhereza lyaga magezi nayo ntagaikalira nyenka nyegese habakaza abali mu cyaro abandi bayitukande hatekizibu ebintu bimwe bitwegere itwe nkaito mu cyaro haturi biena kamasanyarazi obankaki bitu mu cyaro cyaitu tigaliyo government we kutuyamba he katera ya masanyarazi ntugisaba Kyegegwa tuliyo baitu tuina masanyarazi ekiriyaho government we kutuyambe katera ho mukone katera ya masanyarazi sakole bitwegere tutunguka business zaitu nzikurakurana kane kichweka nikisemera so ni malira kusima Malaika Institute okusomesa n'abegisa baitu na project ya Grow na World Bank kuteka musente bebale muno.
Grow, generating growth opportunities and productivity for women enterprises.
Cooking oil like no other makes your meal so sweet and scrumptious. The taste of Uganda, yeah, the taste of Uganda, the taste of Uganda, yeah,
Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back from the break. Now let's dive straight into regional news. Karibu, East Africa. Some news coming in from Kenya. Kenya taking steps to make a couple of improvements. The National Treasury said in a report that these particular activities where Kenya said it is actualizing its fiscal consolidation, bettering export performance and expanding foreign reserves to improve its sovereign credit ratings. This report was said that the activities will make the East African nation graduate to investment grade BBB and attract cheaper debt from global markets. The Standard & Poor's recently lowered the country's rating to B on weaker fiscal consolidation. This followed the Kenya's repeal of its 2024-25 revenue-raising plan, with S&P noting that the move will see debt servicing costs exceed 30% of the government revenue over the 2024 and 2027 period. Similarly, in July 7th, Moody's Similarly, on July 7th, Moody's, the global rating agency, cut Kenya's sovereign credit rating, citing diminished capacity to maintain revenue-based fiscal consolidation that would improve debt affordability and place debt on the downward trend. Kenyan President William Ruto withdrew the plan to raise an additional 346.7 billion shillings to fund its $31 billion budget for the 2024-25 financial year. This followed widespread protests across the country against the taxation plan. Kenya has ramped up its exports, with earnings rising 28% to $2.28 billion in the first quarter of 2024 due to increased shipments from tea and horticulture, according to the National Statistics Bureau. The Central Bank of Kenya noted that the country's debt stood at $79 billion at the end of June, while forex exchange reserves at $7.4 billion. Kenya's economy is also expected to grow by an average of 5% in 2024, according to the National Treasury, and the government is working to bring down the fiscal deficit to 3.3% from an average of 5% of the GDP. That is what is happening in Kenya. Now remember, it has, of course, had its ups and downs. You did notice quite a lot of riots that got to spread as well to other African countries. But now the part about it as well, even with the restructurings, is that quite a number of African countries are still going through that restructuring. We brought you the story about Zimbabwe yesterday, with an unfortunate downturn within its currency restructurings as well. Unfortunately, what had expected to have the ZiG, the Zimbabwe-backed gold, Zimbabwe currency, backed by gold, being brought in, it was expected that this would have a turnaround, but unfortunately it is very difficult, very, very difficult to turn that situation around. A lot has also been happening, of course, in other southern African countries, Malawi, different countries down there within the lower part, the southern part of Africa, coming in and trying to stabilize really the situation within the different countries, especially with drought and the famine coming in, and of course the shortage of grain within that area. A lot is happening in Africa. But when it comes to Tanzania, government reaffirms support for ICT to drive economic growth. The Prime Minister and Minister for Energy, Dr. Doto Biteko, said recently the government will continue to support the application of information and communication technology to ensure the sector effectively contributes to the country's economic growth. The Deputy Premier said the emphasis is in line with implementation of the National Development Vision 2025, as well as the 2016 ICT policy and the ruling party's 2020 to 2025 election manifesto. Dr. Biteko gave the remarks when he represented President Dr. Samia Suluhu at the launch of the DigiTrack program, which is supported by Huawei and Vodacom Foundation. The program aims at delivering new skills and opportunities for all to utilize technology in shaping their own future. Dr. Biteko also said the government is pushing for proper utilization of ICT so that young people and the coming generation could use the technology to compete in the world economy without hindrances. By enhancing ICT education, we are building an ICT skilled community which is capable of using technology effectively, creating innovative solutions and contributing to the digital economy. This will help to ensure that the digital progress reaches everyone regardless of their economic status. He also added that the government, led by President Samia, will do everything possible to ensure that investors play a role in transforming people's lives through various sectors, including ICT, while also benefiting from their investments. Lastly, the doctor stated that the digital economy is crucial for development as it increases productivity and creates opportunities, as well as generating additional income for citizens. That much has been coming in, of course, coming in from Tanzania, really looking at how they can be able to harness ICT, not only to change the quality of life within Tanzania, but the different ways in which ICT can be harnessed for development. Now, when it comes to international news, some news coming in where IMF approves $820 million disbursement to Egypt, and the International Monetary Fund recently approved a disbursement of $820 million to Egypt as part of an $8 billion loan program. The IMF said macroeconomic conditions in Egypt have improved since the program's first and second reviews in March, noting that inflationary pressures are gradually abating, foreign exchange shortages have been eliminated, and fiscal targets have been met. However, the IMF warned that the regional environment remains difficult and that domestic policy challenges require decisive action. The challenging regional environment, including the conflict in Gaza and Israel and tensions in the Red Sea, as well as the domestic policy and structural challenges, necessitate continued implementation of program commitment. This was said by the IMF in their report. It recommended continued fiscal consolidation, enhanced revenue mobilization, and accelerated structural reforms to boost private sector growth. This is part of an extended $8 billion loan agreement finalized between Egypt and IMF in March to help the country address the mounting impact of regional challenges or tensions on its macro economy. The loan arrangement, which began in December 2022, is scheduled to conclude in September 2026, according to Egypt's Ministry of Finance. It seems as if quite a lot of countries, especially African countries, are really reaching out to the IMF. And IMF is not coming in easy. The IMF as well is putting particular foundational prerequisites before some of the loans can be accessed. And some of these as well, and this is why Kenya had all this debacle, because some of the prerequisites that are being set by the IMF are quite very different and a little bit difficult to get. And when it comes down to restructuring some of these and mentioning and being able and capable to be able to put all these things in place to be able to access some of these loans, this is where the trouble comes in, because how are some of the African countries looking at addressing some of these, such as maybe increasing the tax base? They are increasing the tax base by going down, sometimes a little bit erroneously, by getting down to the basics of the society. And in Kenya, within Kenya, of course, it came up with some of the main things that Kenyans use, being taxed, and that is where some of the anger really came out full frontal. But of course, let us hope that there will be a different story as this year closes out in most of the African countries. Now, coming on further is Canada hits China-made electric cars with 100% tariff. That is was still coming in for Chinese electric-made cars. Now, remember, last year, all through last month, we brought to you here, right at Smart 24 TV on Smart Means Business, we brought you some of those reports whereby the EU, as well as a couple of other countries and within Europe, had really come out, and the US as well, coming out and being very tough on the Chinese, saying it has and was coming out as a monopoly, coming out really to sort of like bring in quite a lot of dumping and take over the situation. But of course, just as had been expected, the Chinese will not take that lying down. They of course came down and started partnering with other different African countries, which of course do have a different partnership when it comes to East African, when it comes to production, manufacturing and assembling of electric vehicles. But Canada comes in next as well in international news, saying it will impose 100% tariff on imports of Chinese-made electric vehicles after similar announcements by the US and the European Union. The country also plans to impose 25% duty on Chinese steel and aluminium. Canada and its Western allies accuse China of subsidizing its EV industry, giving its car makers an unfair advantage. China has called the move trade protectionism, which violates World Trade Organization rules. We are transforming Canada's automotive sector to be a global leader in building the vehicles of tomorrow. But actors like China have chosen to give themselves an unfair advantage in the global marketplace, said Canadian Prime Minister Justin. Canada's duties on Chinese EVs are due to come into effect on 1st October, while those on steel and aluminium will be implemented from 15th October. A Chinese Commerce Ministry spokesperson said Canada's actions seriously undermines the global economic system and economic and trade rules. China urges the Canadian side to immediately correct its erroneous practices, they added. China is Canada's second largest trading partner behind the US. In May, the US said it would quadruple its tariffs on imports of Chinese EVs to 100%. This was followed by the EU, which announced plans to impose duties on Chinese-made EVs to up to 36.3%. Canada's tariffs on Chinese EVs will include those made by Tesla at its Shanghai factory. Tesla will most certainly be lobbying the Canadian government to get some leeway on these tariffs, as they have already with Europe, since Canada is their 6th largest market this year, and thus not insignificant. Tesla did not immediately reply to a request for a comment. However, earlier this year, the EU cut its planned extra tariff on China-made Teslas by more than half after further investigations requested by Elon Musk's car maker. Chinese car brands are still not a common sight in Canada, but some, like BYD, have taken steps to enter the country's market. China is the world's largest manufacturer of EVs, and its car makers have quickly gained a significant share of the global market. Meanwhile, Canada has struck deals worth billions of dollars with major European car makers as it tries to become a key part of the global EV industry. Now, just like we have been mentioning, it is a battle. It is the battle of the elephants, the battle of the giants. At the end, this is what is happening all over, not just on the African continent, but really all over, with all different countries fighting to make sure that their domestic inner turf is actually protected. There's an increase in protectionism right now, because at the bottom line is that if you do sacrifice your domestic the domestic potential, your domestic advantages, your domestic strength in light, really, when you are looking just at, just in one dimension, looking at global strategies and global pacts that were made. In the bottom end, you will lose quite a lot of money. We've seen this happening with the US fighting for its interests, fighting for its interests, especially when it comes to China, and looking to reverse some of the prominence, some of the dominance with China, especially because of the fact that it has had quite huge trade. But this trade is beginning to impact upon the employment status of most of the US. Is beginning to impact and make it a little bit more dependent on Chinese, which of course anyone will tell you is not a good place to be in. Now, when it comes, of course, with other European, the EU, when it comes to countries and the EU, of course, this sentiment is as well the same, because I believe they were hoping to tap into the electric vehicles. They were hoping to have a robust turnover coming from some of these electric cars, coming in from electric gadgets, coming in from the different really new gadgets and systems coming onto board. And here comes in China, coming in just as quick as it always is, trying to come in and sweep off. And before you know it, even as a couple of other countries are trying to shape and polish up their system, China is already coming in and offering different countries quite at a subsidized rate, and which threatens the domestic market and threatens as well the domestic capacity within some of these countries. Now, the most interesting thing as well is the comparison down to the African, coming down to the African continent, especially in regards to the EAC, to the community. I talked about this a little bit earlier, talking about how there has been quite some increase in protectionism when you're looking at the grain and the stance of Tanzania protecting its sugarcane and grain markets. And then you look over to Kenya as well, trying to restructure. And then as it restructures, of course, it's blocking out the dairy, the milk coming in from Uganda. And then also we've had as well, within the last couple of months, we've had as well South Sudan come in. And maybe not necessarily on a very good footing, just abruptly come in and stall movement of Ugandan products, especially the grain. We did have that a couple of months back, and there was quite some outcry coming in from Ugandan traders, of course, who were stuck and making losses per the day when it came to that. And then, of course, the different negotiations that came in regards to the follow-up with this impasse. Because what happened, there was quite a lot of faulting with the quality of Uganda's grain, aflatoxin, which has also been, in one way or another, an accusation made from the Kenyan officials in regards to Uganda's grain as well. Now, what was a little bit catchy in the South Sudan-Ugandan scenario is, of course, the abruptness of it, and then, of course, the fact that it was posited and it was suggested that Uganda's grain be subjected to another more or less impartial check in one of the other grain areas. And then South Sudan refused, and then said the officials from South Sudan rejected that and said they would stand. Of course, this gets to show you, why do I bring this up? Because it gets to show you the different ways in which different African countries, even right now, despite the fact that there's quite a lot of pushing for regional trade, regional cooperation, you still do have quite an increase in protectionism. And this is the same ethos when it comes back and fling over to the EV scenario between the US and right now Canada slapping in 100% tariff on imports of China-made electric vehicles. What happens next? The suggestion about it, get onto our social media pages and let us know how you predict this is going to happen, because clearly this scenario is happening globally, not just on the African continent, but it is happening globally. What do you anticipate? What do you predict is going to happen in scenarios such as this? Is it going to really get out and further down, get downhill into chaos? Or there's going to be quite a lot of mediation. There's going to be quite a lot of negotiation coming down into play? Or what do you anticipate? How would you do it differently, especially on the Ugandan scene? How would you do it differently when it comes to East African community? How would you do it differently when it comes to the US and the Canada and the EU slaps the tariffs on the Chinese-made electric vehicles? How would you do it differently? Please get onto our social media pages. Let us know what you think. You can find us there, Smart24 TV official as one word, or Smart24 TV as well as one word. Get onto X, Facebook, as well as YouTube, and let us know what you think. Your opinion matters. We will share your opinion, and we would be interested in finding out. That has been it on Smart24 TV's Smart Means Business International News. Let us know what you think about this coming in. Let's take a short break, and we will be right back.
Smart24, driving business.
Amanya gange nze Nasoro Jamida nvira mu Kalaji era nga ndi beka mbekinga amandazi, donuts ne daddies, mbadde mbekinga ne cakes era nga maze mu weeks 2 nga traininga wano nyongeddeko obukugu kubanga mbadde nyina skills ezimu ze mbadde sirina ng'okubekinga emigaati mbadde sikimanyi, mbadde simanyi kwayisinga cake, how to manage a business, manya nti ebizibu by'aba customer, to find a market, mbadde sibimanyi byonna, nzuula nti akatale we kali, naye mbiyize mu weeks zino 2 ze mmaze nga ndi mu training eno. Waliwo mukwano gwange yali amanyi nti mbekinga era nga akola mu stroke, ye yankubira essimu ng'ali mu kuwandiika abajja okutraininga. Nankubira essimu nange ne bampandiika ne bampita n'enzija. Obubaka bwennyina eri projekiti ya GROW nti okututraininga tukuguse era naye tubuzaamuko ka GROW capital. Tubulamuko ka capital kubanga twetaaga okuba ne machines. Naye tetusobola kwetuusaako machines nga bizinesi zaffe tukyayingiza omutwalo gumu ewiiki. Tubadde tubulamu ka capital tusobole okwongera ku nnyingiza yaffe, tusobole okukola ki? We tunayongeza ku nnyingiza kitegeeza tujja kuba tusobola okugula machines. Obubaka bwempa abantu abaliko obulemu naddala ba vision. Omuntu bw'atunuulira omuntu aliko obulemu naddala obw'amaaso alowooza tasobola kufumba, of which si kituufu. Mulekerawo okwenyooma, musituke, mukolere wamu, tuleme kufuuka mugugu eri abo abantu be tubeera nabo.
GROW, generating growth opportunities and productivity for women enterprises.
3 inspired souls brought together by love are set on a life-changing journey.
This is your life, Mackenzie. This is no longer a dream.
It's just something about Mackenzie.
I'll never marry you.
Your position does not allow you to break work relationship rules.
Where choices change everything. Crossroads, weekdays at 8 p.m. on Power Magic Prime. DSTV channel 148, GoTV channel 303.
Mama nyabo, ino internet yewenyukanga ekizungirizi. Ate kamera ya yolumamyo. Banange ebyandaka ku buggo. Buno mugano gwennyini. Funa
Body Super kati ku nsimbi ezisaliddwako ng'otandika kusinza $49 zokka. Usasule mpola mpola sinsi $833 buli lunaku. Weewangulire omugano gwa Body Super okuva ku MTN Christmas eno. Weefunire GB 2 eza data wa MTN buli mwezi okumala emyezi 8. Weegambulire Body Super kati okuva ku dduuka lya MTN wonna mu ggwanga. Everywhere you go, MTN. Ekolera wansi w'amateeka ga UCC.
Uganda fire! Endiba fire! Ababoda fire! Uganda! Thank you for showing your fire! Has Nambole Stadium opened its doors once again? Fire! While you were moving in wet, you were the 12th player when Uganda Cranes needed you the most. Fire! Through our famous wins against Tubakunda and our unlucky losses, you stood firm, supporting even louder. Now, as Uganda Cranes take on South Africa and Congo this September, South Sudan in October, and play our second legs against South Africa and Congo in November, bring even more fire! Because with your support, Uganda Cranes is unstoppable! Uganda fire! Proudly brought to you by MTN, the #1 supporter of Uganda Cranes. Together, we are unstoppable.
Cooking oil like no other makes your meal so sweet and scrumptious. The taste of Uganda, yeah, the taste of Uganda, the taste.
Smart 24, driving business.
And welcome back from the break. Now, what happens, and this is one of my favorite parts as well, on the top of the hour, 8 o'clock. What happens when you get up in the morning? How do you set your mind? You know, this, as we get into diving straight away from August, heading into September, sometimes you feel the rush. You feel the rush of the close of the year, September, October, November, December. And you're already thinking, if I get back into my my checklist, my goal, what have I accomplished this year? It's very easy to get into the buzz and into the moment of rushed feeling. But what we do is we get you a couple of other business quotes of those that have made it, of those that have gone through a couple of things. And we say these are challenges, these are rushings that do happen. And we're very keen on that here at Smart Means Business, because we do understand what is happening out there through our driving business. Let's give you a business quote, and we can talk about this business quote coming up next. Adewale from Nigeria comes in and says in Africa, it is not skills that we lack, but it is the opportunities. Now, we've had conversations about this particular quote, and this is why we give you these particular words brought in subjectively from others that have gone through it. We could have, we could have lots of different quotes coming in from different places all over the world. But what matters is the way it comes out. Is it the different opportunities? Is it the skills? What is the challenge when it comes to Africa? Let's even put it within this context. When it comes to Ugandans, you do have quite a number of Europeans coming from different places, and even other places. The Chinese come in and say Uganda is filled, and Africa is filled with different opportunities. You just have to know how to tap into them. And then you do have, of course, someone else say it's not really the skills, it is the opportunities. There is a pull, there is a conflict. What is it from your side? Is it the skills? Is it the capital? We've got quite a number of Ugandans that come up and say there is huge potential for me to upscale this catering business that I've started, or upscale out, would want to, even if you carry out a survey right now, just on the Ugandan, on the street right now, within the business hub around Chikubo, or even just uptown here, and then you ask them, what particular idea would you, do you have right now that is pending because of lack of capital? I believe quite a number would be able to give you feedback in regards to that. So is it the opportunity? Is it the skill? Is it capital that is lacking? What is not there? I believe in quite a number of surveys that we've carried out here at Smart 24 TV, the challenge has not necessarily been the opportunities. The opportunities are there in Uganda. And this is why it's always thriving when it comes to business in Uganda. You do have different persons coming in, the Kenyans, the different people, even from surrounding countries, really coming in to tap into the Rwandese, coming to tap into Uganda's business climate, because there's so many different opportunities. Now, does the Ugandan see these particular opportunities? And if they do get to see these particular opportunities, what is missing? Is it the capital? Is it the skills? Because normally what happens, Uganda has been highlighted as one of the most entrepreneurial countries, and the moment they get a little bit of money starting off wherever they can, they will go along with it and start off their particular enterprise, wherever it is, their particular business. Now, of course, the challenge, and this is where the gap is in most of the different companies, the different stakeholders, key players, will come up and say financial literacy. Those particular skills are very wanting, and this is why, despite the fact that so many Ugandans start off their businesses, unfortunately, they don't get past their first and second birthday. Not because there is no passion, not because they are not trying to take advantage of the different opportunities, but because they lack the skills. Now, this is one scenario, and it could be different for you. Let us know how different it is for you, because clearly when Adewale from Nigeria was saying that, he was saying in his business quote, and it could apply to you. So please let us know what you think, because this is subjective. It happens differently to different people. Now, when he was talking about his quote, basically putting it out there, quoting, he said, it is not the skills, it is the lack of opportunity. That is how it came out. Adewale from Nigeria, seasoned entrepreneur. However, we do come from the context, subjectively speaking, of course, as Doreen, I do get to see a couple of opportunities. There are so many, Uganda has so many opportunities, whether it's in agriculture, it is opportunities, whether it is value addition. Right now, they are bringing lots of pumping, actually, the hype and bringing it up on coffee, on cocoa, as well as different green beans for export. There's quite a lot of opportunity. But what is missing is the skills, financial literacy, the financial skills, as well as limited access to capital, especially for many. However, it could be different, of course, in your camp. Let us know what you think. But when it comes to me and the couple of others that I have seen, it is maybe limited. capital. Now, just like we mentioned today, it's quite a buzz that finally the Grow funds are out. We did have a conversation in regards to that, and of course, a couple of people have called in and sent in their comments and questions, inquiring, when is this money coming out? Please, a reminder, get out right now and to the different financial partner institutions, and get to find out. You could qualify for that. You could qualify for those particular loans. Get out and use them. Do not use them just as has been done in different projects and different programs all over, whether it's PDM right now. You did have a list recently that we read out, of course, of the poor performing and the top performing districts when it came to PDM. And even just a couple of months into the program, we were already getting reports and telling them here at Smart Means Business, reading them out to you, of how there was quite a lot of diversion as well of some of these monies by the recipients, the beneficiaries, and how they're already on the run. Ironically, it's not only just the beneficiaries that are on the run. You do have as well other government district officials and other parish chiefs on the run as well in regards to how this money has been used. Quite a lot of muddled situations going on there in regards to PDM. And of course, when you do have the introspective part of it, you do have analysts coming out in the different reports and coming out here. And even in our discussions here on Smart 24 TV, where we do have these comparisons between the past programs that have been happening here. Has it been intentional? Has it been as effective as intended? What are those gaps, and what can be done to rectify them? The great thing about it is that those gaps are very apparent, and you do have different packages that are coming out even right now with the Grow project and other projects as well, to try and rectify the different gaps that were there before. If these gaps can be rectified really and addressed and unstemmed, we do hope that some of these programs would come out quite well. Back to it, let us talk about the undertone of this conversation. Crafting spaces for disabled persons with disabilities, designing all those. Please join us between 9 to 10 as we get talking to a gentleman from the architecture fraternity who will be telling us, giving us some insight into how they believe, how it should be. How was it in the past? How is it right now, currently? And what is the future? Do you know that there are particular standards that buildings are supposed to go through, particular width of the doors and the ramps and all these different things that should be able to accommodate the elevators, should be able to accommodate the wheelchairs, those with mobility challenges, those who have visual impairment as well as hearing difficulties. Do you know that buildings in Uganda are supposed to have them? We are still celebrating a little bit prematurely when it comes to some of the buildings that are really very keen on putting this up. But we get to see these within the medical facilities, of course, because you have the beds, and someone will ideally say, because you have the the very sick patients who can't, some of them use wheelchairs, and this is why you have the ramps. So it is obvious within some of these medical facilities that you will have that. But then again, you go back into some of the workspaces that are there, and you will notice the lots and lots of stairs up to the 6th floor, up to the 5th floor, and sometimes the elevators are not working. So how does someone in a wheelchair get up there for that meeting that's supposed to take place at 9 a.m. on the 5th floor if the elevator is not working? These are some of the things that we would want to put into perspective. Now remember, this has really been the undertone of the conversation as well, when we have been talking about all throughout this week, starting and even parts of last week as well, where we hosted a couple of key players and those advocating for the rights and improvement of the situation of persons with disabilities in Uganda. When you get to step into their shoes, such as the shoes of the mother here who shared her story and how difficult it is to use transport facilities. That's when it hits you. And sometimes we bring you these particular topics so that you can reflect, do some self-introspection, and self-reflection, and find out, am I doing something? What am I doing to tackle this? What am I doing? What am I doing to make this better? And how can I really work with those ones who are doing something on the part? It's very important to be able to see how best we can be able to go through. Now remember, the mantra all throughout this last couple of years has been disability is not inability. Disability is not inability. The last mantra, and that changed everything because it took it out of the pity and charity component, charity docket, into can we empower you to do something. It is quite rejuvenating. It is quite a moment to reflect upon when you are able to empower. However, we still have these instances whereby persons with disabilities are still inclined to charity. And then you do have the others that are really trying out there. And you do have key partners really that have championed this empowerment drive and been able to do whatever. But a lot still needs to be done. Let's get back to crafting the spaces. How can we make it easier? A lot has been done, of course, when it comes down to wash facilities in schools. Very, very wonderful. Now more into gender sensitivity, looking at boys having their own places, not just anyone getting into a room. And then, of course, the girls having their own spaces. And, of course, all the accommodative little detailings within these wash facilities. But also, most importantly, is that they are as inclusive as possible. You have lots and lots of more wash facilities coming out that are inclusive, especially for persons with disabilities. That means someone who is within a wheelchair can be able to roll themselves inside there, hold the different supportive places within the toilet, have some privacy, and then come back happier, and also be able to adjust some of the washing facilities and be able to wash their hands and not really prop them up here as unfortunately some of the designs that have been made did not totally take into stock that persons with disabilities would have quite a challenge in using them. But we get to see that more and more facilities are coming up in this sort of arrangement whereby they are being inclusive. They are taking into account that some of these people really do need to have. Can you imagine getting into a washroom, a toilet, and then you basically cannot even scoot over from your different, from your wheelchair because you have a mobility challenge. Imagine if you were in those shoes. You can't even move yourself from the wheelchair because you just can't. You've had stories whereby some unfortunately fall down within the wash facilities. And even when you're past that encumbrance, then you do have the facilities, the washing sink that is way up here. You can't turn it on. You can't do much about it. You can't adjust it. Well, guess what? The different architectural designs that are there right now, when it comes to business, takes into perspective all these different dynamics. That means you must be able not only to have that supportive when you are scooting over from, when you are moving from your wheelchair to use the toilet, you should be able to have those supporting elements in place. And in addition to that, you should have the space around this area to be able to navigate your wheelchair and be able to do something about it. Now, when it comes down to employment, please look in. We're very excited about it. On Thursday, we will host the commissioner coming in from the Ministry of Gender, coming in to give us insight and overview of how the situation, especially in regards to employability. If I could preempt it a little bit, I could tell you, please lock in on Thursday between 9 to 10 as we get an overview from the commissioner coming in from Ministry of Gender to give us a little bit of the highlights. What is the law saying? How was it in the past? How is it currently? These things that we get to see, encouragement within the papers. Please, we do encourage persons with disabilities to please do apply for this position. Are they factual? Are they actually factual, or they are not as honest as you would think they should be? And then when it comes, of course, on the other side of it, you do have a couple of complaints coming in from others who say that we did apply, we did pass through, we thank God for that opportunity because we're capable of delivering it. However, we are still locked out because at the end of the day, I cannot have this access to the field, and when I have access to the field, it does take, I have been labeled, those are the different stories that come out sometimes, and they will tell you that I do have to go through quite a lot of discomfort because some of the amenities, some of the facilities are not ideal for persons with disabilities. So by the time, this is where it comes in, by the time they do give you the job, have they put in place some of these different things that maybe persons with disabilities would be in need of, these particular requirements? Or have they been factored in, or they're going to be seen as a burden? We'll have more of that discussion on Thursday as we talk about that particular overview of the situation, employment-wise. Please join us between 9 to 10 as we get to talk about it. But for now, let's stick to the architectural detailing, to the bits about it. I will not preempt the 9 to 10 conversation that we will have today. Please join us. And like I mentioned earlier, get onto our social media pages and let us know what you would want to ask, what you would want to ask this expert that is going to join us from the architectural body, Uganda's professional body. Get to ask, especially if you have challenges or you do have things that need a little bit of clarity. Please get your question down there. Get your question down there. Get onto our social media pages and let us know on X as well as Facebook and YouTube. Let us know what you think so that we can be able to ask these questions on your behalf. Now, a lot is happening every single day with different skeletal suits that you can put up, that you can put on to ease mobility. When it comes to those ones who are have visual impairment, a lot is coming up with very, very smart detective, equipment that they can use, whether it is canes with sensors, whether it is smart places, smart walkways. Those have been prototyped and they have come out in a couple of places. Can we be able to do it here in Uganda, that a visually impaired person may not necessarily need a guide as they walk down the streets of Uganda? As you are moving in front of Uganda House, just write down, are they able to have an aisle? Are they able to have an audio-based guide, basically take them through on that different path? Are they able to walk on their own and cross the road using maybe a zebra crossing that is basically smart enough to connect to the different, to the walking cane, to the cane of the person who is blind? Is that going to happen in Uganda? Is it even a possibility, or it is not within our reality scope that we would think about? However, we do know for sure that in other countries, most very, very good innovations are coming out, and these are being zapped and taken off. Whether it is the latest app, whether it is the latest innovation that is coming out, in most cases, these are helping persons with disabilities. What is happening in Uganda when it comes to innovation? Is this innovation being encouraged? Right now, you do have different calls, of course, when it comes down to innovation in regards to persons with disabilities. You have different calls going on and a call for proposals, of course, from different stakeholders. But we would urge the Ugandan out there who is watching to please be very keen. The different ministries, the different departments as well are very keen. Remember, this is Smart 24 TV. We are driving business, and in most cases, we do give you these opportunities which come out. We do as well give you these opportunities to get out there, be innovative, be creative, and then come up with different innovations that you know can help persons with disabilities. Not only just within the context of this conversation. But then when it comes out as well to agriculture, remember we talked about at least 73.3% earlier on during this week being employed, of persons with disabilities being employed within agriculture. So when you come down and you think of the tractor, and you think of the oxen plows that are out there in eastern Uganda, how well can a person with a disability be able to man this? How well can a person with a disability be able to push on? Because if at all they are mobility challenged, they cannot move, they are maybe lame in one leg, how are they expected to push this plow? What, it is not the how, it is really what can be done. And that is what we are keen on here at Smart 24 TV. Now, you who is watching out there, this is where it comes into play. Now that we know for sure that we are talking about a couple of things, a couple of challenges, a couple of impediments, what is your role to play when it comes to this? Can you come up with an innovation that can look at the agrarian side of the person with disabilities, the person who wants to get into that tractor? Can they have an accommodative tractor that will be able to help them? These are things that really would be welcomed. I never know, if you do participate in this, it would be very important. I will leave you with just that one part. 73.3% of persons with disabilities are engaged in agriculture in Uganda. And this is in comparison to around 61.6% of those engaged in agriculture who don't have any disability. Think about it. You do get to see pictures of some of persons with disabilities really not in the best situation when it comes to the gardens. And lots should be done, because at the end of the day, that wheelchair will not be able to go into the garden, but this person has to plow. So how do they plow? How do they plow? That's food for thought. That is where you come in, remember, asking, what can I do to make this situation better? Any other person who has done anything at any one time will ask that question. What can I do to make this situation better? It's not about lamenting. Lamenting does not clear the problem away. It just gives you access to a pity party. But when you come down to, what can I do to make this situation better? That is where the core of the question is, because that will catapult you, should be able to catapult you into action. This is what happens here on Smart Means Business. It is not just talking about the different national, regional, as well as international news. We do have those moments of comparison. We do have those moments of thought-checking thoughts, you know, where we do urge you to get right into action. We do urge you to do something relevant, something different. And the business quotes that we do bring at the top of the hour are meant to catapult you into thinking about what you are doing to make the situation better. Doreen Kemcha taking you right through. Right now we're going to take a short break. Join us every 7 o'clock Monday to Friday as we go through Smart Means Business for all your latest national as well as regional and international news, as well as those discussions where we do have that insight, of course, as well as those topical issues and the undertone that we keep bringing out every now and then. We're going to take a short break, and then I will be right back with more news for you. But please don't forget to get us to join us here between 9 and 10 as we talk about the architectural detailing for persons with disabilities. Let's take a short break right now. We'll be right back.
Smart 24, driving business.
My name is Vitsoyo Topista. I'm from Terego district. I'm a mother of one child. I deal in salon business, and most of my customers are from the camp, refugee camp, and the host communities. The business has taken 3 years. I got to know about Grow when they were doing their launching in Arua, West Nile. I reached here and the training started so marvelous. The new things that I picked in the training, there are so many new skills that they taught us. They took us through different kinds of hairstyles, how to plant hair. Those days I used to plant it anyhowly, and styling was a problem to me. But this time I'm able to plant different kinds of hair styles and also making the designs. Coming to the equipment, basically I didn't even know more about these equipments, the head dryers. I myself, I don't have it in my salon, but reaching here, I was able to see head dryers in salon, and I was able to operate. Through my instructors, they trained us on how to start and to switch it off. I'd like to thank the government, more especially the Ministry for Gender, Labor and Social Development, for giving us this support. The GROW project has actually helped us a lot, and we're here to benefit more.
GROW, generating growth opportunities and productivity for women enterprises.
Uganda fire! Endiba fire! Ababoda fire! Bannange mwebale okuwagira Uganda Cranes nga nambonezebwa okugulawo emiryango gye. Mwebale kwambala langi zaffe n'emijoozi gyaffe mu ssanyu. Muyiwawo omubiri wadde tuwangudde ne bwe tuba tukubiddwa eddiba. Kati nno Uganda Cranes nga yeetegekera okwambalagana ne South Africa, gattako ne Congo mu Septemba ono, ate yo South Sudan yakwambalagana nayo mu October. Olwo baddiŋŋane ne South Africa ne Congo mu November. Ogwamu eki kuleeta fire. Anti awali obuwagizi bwammwe Uganda Cranes tewali kigirema. Uganda fire! Bikutuusiddwako MTN, omuwagizi wa Uganda Cranes namba emu. Nga tuli wamu tewali kitulema.
Cooking oil like no other makes your meal so sweet and scrumptious. The taste of Uganda, yeah, the taste of Uganda, the taste.
We all have that friend, always by your side for the big moments. Alina drama munji. And sometimes akuteka ku pressure, but it's always there to celebrate your wins. Where would we be without our BFF?
This season, enjoy the best football moments with your hashtag BFFGoTV. Get GoTV today to enjoy all the best football live on SuperSport. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Smart 24, driving business. Smart 24, driving business.
And welcome back from that break. Now remember, every Wednesday here on Smart 24 TV, we try to break it down. We break it down. We do have a segment whereby we have Antonio here join us and get down to the basics, me and you, to give us the one-on-one on what is happening when it comes to investment, when it comes to the stock markets, when it comes to all these different jargons, business, so-called business jargon that most of us do not understand. So it's a very good moment that we do have Antonio come and break it down for us. And guess what? Investment becomes easier. Antonio. It's a battle of the names.
Jackie.
Yes. Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
It's always a delight having you. You know, I love these moments whereby we break it down. I and as well as the viewer gets to know that these things are easy. We missed out last time on the rush, when a couple of shares were outed, and most of us MTN, exactly MTN, and most of us were thinking to ourselves, and a couple of others were asking me, so is it worthwhile? But MTN is big. Do they want like billions? Do they want like hundreds of millions? And then you came in and said, oh my goodness, the guys that invested are reaping. And it wasn't even, you had others that were putting in 1,500,000 and were able to get something. Give us the one-on-one so that we do not miss out on the next one. MTN has still outed. Has it outed, or it is a couple of other shares? What is happening out there?
So starting off with MTN, MTN re-established their shares. It is something that rarely happens. It has only happened twice on the stock markets. It happened with Bumeme. Now it's happening with MTN. So here's what happens when a company is going to list. There is a specific amount of shareholding that is required, and it should be at least 20%. So it can be more, but the least we expect is 20%. So
of what it's putting on the market?
Of its shareholding. Okay. Remember, companies are set up in such a way that different shareholders bring in money to start the business. Right now, MTN Uganda in particular. Remember, MTN is just it's a big company from South Africa. But MTN Uganda specifically, let's look at the 100% stake, was being held by private investors like Charles Mbire, the rich man, Bitature, and other couple of notables. But now, when there is a regulation from UCC that required at least the company to list 20% of stake. Why do they list? Because they want to repatriate capital. Now, all the money MTN was making before listing was going to South Africa and in the pockets of only these individuals. All the profits from mobile money, from any transactions that are made on MTN, airtime, all the profits were going into pockets of few individuals.
Was going back to their place.
Exactly. And most of it was going back to South Africa because South Africa, MTN, has the biggest shareholding. So what happens is, as a regulation, to kind of repatriate some of that capital, it was required that a company, all telecommunications companies are listed, at least 20% of that shareholding should be listed.
So that these monies could be retained by Uganda.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, if MTN Uganda is worth, let me just give a trivial figure, 1 trillion, and 20%, you're required to list 20%. So 20% is 200 billion. So you break down 200 billion into units, what we call shares. So you can say, maybe I want each share at 200 shillings. So that means that you're going to break down 200 billion into 200 other shares. You get at 200 shillings each. And then people can buy into the company. Now, the very first shareholders are called the initial shareholders, are coming at what we call the IPO, the initial public offer.
Yeah.
That's when the people come in for the very first time to
And
buy
that's the same thing that happened on the very first offering.
Thank you.
The very first one.
The very first one.
And those that were clever enough, and those that were knowledgeable enough, and this is where it comes in. It is not really just clever enough, it is knowledgeable enough. This is why we give you the latest information. And we even go further as Smart 24 TV to break it down so that you do understand it. Because when you understand it, then you assuage your fears, you remove your fears. Those fears of, will I get my money back? Those ones there. Who else is doing it? Ugandans love a lot of that. Do you know someone who is doing it so that I can go and ask? How many times have they asked you that?
A lot of times. They need to know.
Yeah, so when we come in here, we're trying to remove that fear of who has done it. Whom can you give me 2 numbers? No, if I give me 5 numbers of someone who is doing it so that I can talk to them and find out if it's worthwhile. Well, we give you those 5 numbers in the different information that we do get to tell you. But the great thing about this segment, every Wednesday, 8:30 to around 8:50, is that I get to learn with you. We get to learn together from Antonio. So it should be a very learning moment.
Sure.
Yes. So that is the IPO, the initial
public offer.
Yeah, for the very first one.
At the very first time, it was undersubscribed. What we mean by undersubscription is not all the 20% was bought out. They bought out 12.97%. Okay. Now, remember the argument is you list at least 20%. But if you don't meet the 20%, they give you more time. You go on the exchange, you start trading. Now, the shares that have been bought, the 12.9%, is what is going to be traded on the secondary market. Now, the IPO is a primary market. Now, the secondary market is those people who didn't have chance to buy. They can trade. Now we are calling it trade, buying and selling. They already bought shares by these people who bought at first. But the difference is, at the IPO, the price is standard. When it comes to the secondary market, the price is determined by demand and supply. So I can come and say, yes, I bought at 200, but I want to sell at 220. Because I already bought it. It's my product.
Is there a ceiling to the price?
Yeah, there's a ceiling. So there's a 15% window, either high or lower. Now, whenever you see a price going down, it means that they're still playing within 15%, but people are tending to be selling away more than they're buying. When you have more sellers than buyers, you know what happens.
It goes down.
The price goes down. When you have more buyers,
the price goes
than sellers, the price goes up, because there you can determine the price yourself. You're like, no, I need the 220.
But there's still
a window of 15%.
It's like a bracket.
Yes. But that window is only during a day of trading. In other words, if trading starts at 9 a.m. and closes at 1 p.m., that is the only time you can play with that window. By the close of 1 p.m., the last trade to be done at that price, that's the price that closes the stock. So let's say you started the day with 170 shillings per share, and you traded 177, 175, but the very last price is 178. That's going to be the price, the opening price for the following day. Now the 15% becomes 15% of 178. Yeah. So people make money not only by getting these dividends that I'm talking about, but they make money trading. They call it trading, the buying and selling of shares. It's not a game of only I'm investing in the company and I watch, okay, what is it doing? No, you can play with the numbers. You can play with the numbers depending on the demand and supply. Now, MTN later on, after, of course, 2 years, because MTN got listed in 2022, 2021, late December, but then, of course, 2022, they were fully fledged listed. Now, in this year, after 2 years, I think, of listing, they decided to refloat the 7%. Remember, we said they had 12.97%.
That was left?
No, that was bought out.
That was bought.
So 7% was left.
Okay.
So they refloated those shares, and that is what we call a secondary offering. It's not secondary market. The secondary market is what I explained before, where people who bought in the very initial market are selling to other people who didn't buy. But now we are looking at it's like a new initial offer. But secondary, because you already had the initial
primary one.
So this is what happened, and this time round, because people had seen what MTN was doing, The other one was undersubscribed. This one was oversubscribed. Because people wanted to get
They were rushing.
They were rushing to get those new shares. Remember, there you have a standard price. But when you come to buy on the secondary market, me the seller, I'm the one who tells you through a stockbroker what price I want to sell to you. But at this secondary offer, which you missed, you have a standard price. Everyone is buying at a standard price.
Yeah.
If it's 175, that's it. Then later on, you can sell at your own price.
So now the secondary offer.
Yeah.
Yes. When
The
is
secondary
it,
offer.
Is it done yet?
It was done between 27th of May and 10th of June.
Yeah.
So it got done, and they managed to raise up. They managed to buy out at least 1.57 billion shares at 220.47 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the amount of money. The offer resulted into at least the new investors that got in were 20,634 investors. And on top of that, we had institutions like NSSF, local pension fund, again coming in with the biggest share, taking up some of those.
NSSF has really tapped into this.
It is the biggest investor in East Africa. In the East African capital markets, it's the biggest investor and the biggest gainer, of course.
Definitely.
You invest big, you gain big. I mean, every single time a company issues dividends, NSSF bags the biggest amount. Now,
has it floated its shares recently?
No.
It
NSSF
hasn't.
doesn't float shares. NSSF is mandated to invest.
By the members?
Yes.
For the members.
So one of the top tier, they invest in fixed incomes. Fixed incomes are those treasury bonds lending to government.
Yeah.
The second one is equity. Equity. That is investing in stock markets, investing in different companies.
Yeah.
And then the third is real estate. You can imagine what you're rushing for to invest, that is real estate. When I get my money, I want to first go and buy land. The biggest investor in the land, it's their third option.
Their very third
It's their
option.
third. The first, fixed income. Second, stocks. Third, real estate. That's it. These lower houses you're seeing of NSS, that's not where they get most of their money.
They don't.
They get
But this is this is the interesting part, Antonio. When we get to talk about this, is that you have had lots and lots of up and down, more like a ping pong. It's like a seesaw. Yes, today it's up. It's more. The average Ugandan seems to lack the knowledge about where to put their investment. You have lots and lots of Ugandans right now that get to sit out there and ask, where can I put my money? I have this 10 million. Where can I put my money? Which safe place can I put my money that will give me something worthwhile, something fair? And then, of course, you do have the rush, the normal rush about it. Buy land. Is that not the first thing they say?
That's the first.
The first thing they tell you is do business. Yes. Then the next thing for the person who is like, I don't want to be encumbered with all the things of business who has stolen my money, what inventory. What I want to do is have it quietly sit there gaining. And this is where now the land comes in, buy land. However, you do get to see that most of the appreciations and the lock-in of the monies, there is the failure to translate into liquidity. If I told you do get that challenge is very big, because now you have those ones that say, I really need the money right now, but you can't even sell the land. And even when you're selling it, there is that desperate, that urgency that causes land that should be 50 million to get down, and someone is offering you almost 30 million for land that you want 50 million from. So the liquidity will put you, the urgency and the need for that liquidity will put you at a bad point. But then when it comes to the collective trusts, we talked about that the very first time. Remember, we talked about the collective trusts and all these unit trusts that are there, and how you're able to pull out the money if you do have an emergency. But the money sits quietly there and gains for you. What you need to do, and sometimes you said you can even start off with something as low as 100,000, right? For some, because they're different.
For some, you can start with as little as 10,000. For some? Yes. But for all, you need at least 100,000. But there's one that has gone down to 10,000 shillings.
And they're legitimate? Yeah,
they're licensed. Zeno Technologies.
Yes.
They are licensed by CMA. The good thing with this, there are not so many players. Stockbrokers, there are only 5. You don't have to go saying, is this licensed? No, just go to the CMA website, just check. There are only 5 stockbrokers. There are only 6 fund managers. Just that.
So they're still few.
They are few.
They're still few.
Think even whether this person is legitimate or not.
When it comes down to, let us say, like the shares, MTN shares, right? Of which many missed out in the very first round. And this is why we get to that moment.
Even the second one.
Now with the second run, everyone was rushing because the those ones that had now known and been told, oh my goodness, you missed out on these shares. Well, like the next time MTN flocked those shares, I'm going to buy, I'll be quick.
And here's the thing, why do you think people are interested in these telecoms? Unlike other companies, which give a dividend once a year. Now, you remember what I talked about? That's called capital gain. That trading of shares. You buy low, sell higher. Buy low, sell higher. That's one way of making money.
Yeah.
The other way is you're going to get a dividend every 3 months. These companies issue dividends, what they call interim dividends, every quarter. MTN just issued another dividend for the second quarter this month. So on top of that, you're going to be having this money coming in every now and then, every 3 months. You're getting this money, you know, and you can decide to reinvest this money or withdraw it. It's up to you.
I told you first, wait. I've had someone tell me and said, but it's. There's a time this person was sitting and then had the ting-ting, okay, the message coming in. And then when they checked, they said they checked out their messages, of course excited, because it was under mobile money. Only to see you have received 128.
There's nothing better than that.
First wait, 128 shillings from the interest payout under mobile money, 128 shillings. Now you do have this skeptic out there, the pessimist, who is saying, 128 shilling. The optimist will say, next time let me save higher so that I can get more money coming in. But then you do have, of course, the other one that says, now these shares here, I am not at the level of Bitatori. I'm not at the level of NSSF. These are putting in billions, in hundreds and hundreds, okay, and as well as billions. What about me, who does not even have 50 million? Is it worthwhile to actually invest?
It will be worth,
or I will be getting just 10,000.
It will be worth when you're getting with the mindset of a long-term investment. 10,000. What you're failing to know, these investments, especially when it comes to stock market, if you're thinking short-term, if you're thinking 3 months, 1 month, it's not the thing for you.
It is. It won't
work. Don't invest in the stock market if you are a short-term investor. There are other short-term instruments, the treasury bills. Those ones give you money every 3 months, 6 months, or maximum a year.
Where can you buy the treasury bills for the person asking?
Treasury bills are short-term lending to the government. And they're through Bank of Uganda, but they're through, you can get access to them through two people. Number one is the Uganda Securities Exchange.
2 entities.
Yes. And then you have what we call the dealers. The dealers are the banks. Though the banks will have to charge you if you don't go direct through maybe the exchange or a stockbroker. There's another stockbroker. Some stockbrokers also have access to the fixed income market. So you go to these people, you go to the banks, they're dealers. Not all the banks, but some. ABSA, Housing Finance, Centenary, Stanbic. You go to the bank, you'll be like, I want to buy treasury bills. They will tell you, okay. They will give you the investment banking arm, or they give you someone in the investment banking. And then that person will guide you on how much you need to invest, at least starting with 100,000. Now what happens is something called a coupon. And this coupon is at a certain interest rate, depending on the rates at that time. So currently we are having bonds or bills that are at 13%.
Okay.
And we're auctioned, I think, they auctioned every 2 weeks. So even this week they have auctioned. Next week they will auction.
That's the government borrowing?
Yes, every 2 weeks.
But it doesn't. The government is indebted. It doesn't want to pay.
They pay.
Do they pay?
They pay. This actually, if there's anyone who pays, it's government.
And because, first wait, Antonio, for the person, and this is why I love this moment, is very good, because we break it down. Now the person just went to Kawempe, just went to any other health facility, yes? And then maybe had a challenge accessing something that they wanted to get to any other health facility. And then they blame the government. Look at the government. The government doesn't have money. Now they come here and then we are telling them, lend to government. Yes. The first thing they will tell you, but I went to ABCD and couldn't even access.
This government started borrowing in 1962. And
it's still borrowing.
There is not even a single person who has come out to say government defaulted. Government doesn't default because even when government changes, they have an obligation to pay. Through Bank of Uganda, there's always money to pay back. Even on the budget, people who the budget when it comes to resources,
there's some money that is set aside.
There is money set aside for people who lend to government, especially domestically.
Domestic
lenders first. Even before they go to those hospitals, unfortunately, they have to first pay because this is people's money. And you promise that I'll give you 13% interest. You have to pay it. So that's why I'm saying, for those who are investing for short term, look at treasury bills. They have 3 months, we have 6 months, and we have 1 year.
At 13%.
At 13%. If you invest 100 million, 13% is 13 million.
First start down. Get away from your 100. I want Derek out there to. I want Mama Matthew somewhere there. I want Belinda out there. I want the person out there who is watching this. You get away from your 100 million for starters. Let's make it relatable to them. 100.
You're going to get 13,000 in return.
Then you 1 million?
1 million, you're going to get 113,000. So, rather 130,000. Just get 13% of what you're investing. That's what you're going to get back.
In what?
So you get back your 1 million and also get 130,000 more.
Really?
In 3 months.
In 3 months?
Yes. 6 months, it can be 14%.
Now imagine, for those ones, we've had more and more who are looking at generational wealth, at setting their children up. We've had this conversation with a couple of women as well, and they will tell you, the moment I gave birth to my child, I immediately opened up an account, okay, so that I keep depositing and we keep depositing. Now imagine if you do have an account that gives you, you have a deposit somewhere that you have placed your monies and it's giving you 13% for your child. Now we're thinking long term. We're thinking long term right now. And maybe not necessarily, you can do the shares as well, buy those shares. And this is the difference between those that look at generational wealth and those ones that look at the short term. Don't be so, don't.
That's what our Ugandans want, you know.
No, but
they want which is not going to be.
Antonio, this is why we give them this knowledge, and this is why we learn. I, as well as them, learn along, and you come in, because this is where you are so experienced, this is your speciality. So when you come in and you give in this sort of thing, I wonder how many women and men are out there who are asking, where should I put my 1 million? I have started up a shop, it failed. I lent this person money lending, it failed. Where can I safely put my 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, and know that I'm going to be able to, at the end of the day? So if at all you want to say, Chibina, think of it as a Chibina, because that is where most of the Ugandans are going these days. Think of it as a Chibina. If I get my 2 million and throw it there, that means after every 3 months, I get 130, standing at 13%. So that is 390. Yes, an investment, the interest is 390. That is flat out there for me at the end of the year.
Yep, and then you get also your initial 1 million back.
If I put my 1 million.
Yeah, you get it back.
Yes.
On top of that.
So that means if it's 2 million, 390 translates into 780.
Thank you.
At 2 million. Do the math, people. If it is,
come on, guys.
And if you want it there, and this is with 2 million shillings, right?
Yeah.
And this is a short term.
This is a short term, a maximum of 1 year.
Of 1 year.
Yes.
Now imagine that you do it on a rotational basis. You get it, that is 2.780, and then you throw it back again, 2.780. You even top it up and make it 4 million. Imagine what you would get.
But how many can do that? That reinvesting. We don't want to hurt our egos. You know, we want to see money on the desk all the time. That is our problem.
Because now, if you do the math, it is the way you sell it. It is the way you sell it. If it is 2 million, at the end of the year, you're getting 780. That means if the person goes and tops up again, because take a wall, isn't that what they say? Yes?
Take a cent.
Take a cent wall. At the end of the day, 780. If I put there 4 million, double it. That means I'm going to get 1.560.
Thank you.
1.560. Clear.
Yes.
At the end, within 12 months.
12 months.
Double it again.
Yeah.
Do you see what we're talking about? So when it comes up, this is the beautiful thing about it. The challenge, of course, when it comes to any other person, especially those that have been conned so many times. Why do Ugandans find themselves being conned every now and then? Because they're trying to look for safe places where they can put their monies.
They're trying to look for quick.
They are They are looking for places. When they say safe, by the time they say safe, it is because they have spoken to around 10, 20 people who are telling them I'm getting money.
It's not
so
safe
they think it's
unless
safe.
It's regulated.
And that is where we come in. It is not safe unless it is regulated. Yeah. And then someone else will come in and say, for example, the chicken thing that burst recently. Yes, and they'll say, but I'm registered.
Who grows chicken in 4 months? And then you make it 4 times what it is.
Don't. People lost. You're going to hurt a lot of people. They lost their monies.
They should be hard.
But this is the great part about it. So you have told us a little bit about the shares. Okay.
And
that is long term.
There's Wumeme. I had a lot. I hope we can come back maybe next time. Airtel issued dividends. Wumeme. Now imagine, instead of investing only in MTN, you have something in Wumeme, you have something in Airtel, you have something in DFCU. You will find all of a sudden you have another salary coming in every month.
Every month.
Because these guys issue at different timelines.
What is the and you can't know for sure how much
you can't. But there's always something.
But is it too little?
No. It's never too little if it builds up. It's always little if you just keep it there and you don't grow it. But if you discipline yourself and say, every time I'm going to get 1 million shillings, I'm going to put away 100,000 for investing. Every time I get 100,000, I'm going to put away 20,000. And that you give it to your stockbroker. You tell your stockbroker, buy MTN, because the share is 177 at MTN. He can buy
177.
Yes, at the moment.
Yeah.
And you can buy 10 shares for MTN at 20,000. He buys you 10 for Airtel, he buys you 20 for Wumeme, and your portfolio will keep growing even with that little that you're putting.
Yes.
But it has to be consistent. What you don't have to give up is that consistency.
Now,
buying
assuming I have 100 shares MTN, okay, that's 177,000. Yes, 100 shares. How much am I getting?
No, that's not 100.
100 shares.
17,000.
No.
We had that argument yesterday. We are not getting back to that. 100 shares is 17,000, not 100. 170,000 is 1,000 shares.
Is 1,000 shares?
Yes.
Okay, if I have 1,000 shares.
Yes. You're going to get 6,000 this first quarter.
This first quarter.
The next quarter we don't know. You could get more. You could get 10,000. The other quarter we could get 20. We just don't know. MTN is making money.
It remains coming in.
It keeps coming in. The thing is, don't also give up. Just like the way they don't give up on giving you dividends, don't give up on investing more.
So what you're saying is you get that money. If there's an opportunity for other shares, buy
more. Don't take it out. Don't. What do they call it? Don't kill the cow for meat.
When it was giving you milk.
It was giving you milk every day. That's what Ugandans want. They say, but if I chop this cow now, I can get 700,000 out of these few kilos. But then you've forgotten that 1,000 that was coming in from every cab has been able to take your kids to school. And you're going to earn that 1,000 for the whole year, and it's going to become 1 million.
Yeah.
Yet you want to sell the cow right now.
Consistency.
And you pull out of the business.
You see, what we're talking about long term, Antonio has given us 2 options, long term and of course the short term. Yeah. Yes, the short term seems more appealing. But the thing about it that you're insisting on is the consistency. Don't remove the money, leave it there. Now imagine if your child, you wanted to start this and your child is now 10 years. Imagine how much would have gone, how much you would have saved if you had started with your car, maybe 500,000 for that child at the very beginning. Imagine in 10 years how much you could have built if you do not pull it out. Think about some of these things and join us as we make this information, this financial information, more relatable. Join us every Wednesday, 8:30. I will be here with our master guru, the man himself, Antonio, as he breaks it down and then as he forces us to serve and be consistent, but also is very keen on making that little money. And Antonio, you do this yourself as well?
Yeah, I do it.
You invest, you've been investing.
Even with the little I have.
Even with the little you've been.
I've been making investments.
So this is something that is real for you.
It is real.
It is not just talk.
Yeah.
It is real for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Antonio. We look forward to next Wednesday.
Me too.
Please grind and tell us the truth. We need this truth. And please let us know which area you would want Antonio to focus on every Wednesday here on Smart. Smart means business. We are live here, Smart 24 TV. As we get to break down these things and make it relatable, imagine if you had started and put in just a little bit of money when MTN floated those shares the first round, or when you could have floated in the moment, bought in those little made that investment when your child had just been born and your kid is now 10 years. How much would that little pool be right now? Until next time, this has been Kemcha Doreen. Please join me again 9 to 10 as we get back to our topic today, talking about the architectural detailing for persons with disability, coming up next right now. Thank you. Thank you, Tony.